Nightfall at a luxurious hotel. A team of operatives in uniform is on a mission to capture an intelligence agent holding state secrets in his laptop. At first, everything goes according to plan. A getaway car waits outside, ready to whisk them away. But suddenly the car explodes and their operation is compromised. Their cover is blown. They scramble to find an alternate route, slipping through the back to secure the agent. Yet things spiral out of control. One by one, the team is taken out, and the enemy remains unseen. A lone figure monitoring the team rushes to their aid. But by the time he arrives, it's too late. The entire team is dead. Meanwhile, in a different part of the city, Mike wakes up next to his English tutor, an older woman he's grown fond of. They exchange playful banter before Mike heads to work. Mike is a skilled, methodical, and sharp high-rise construction worker. He enjoys his job, especially with his close-knit group of friends.
Every day, maybe you remember your teacher. If older women are your thing.
Later that night, Mike is unwinding at a bar with his buddies when an unexpected visitor sneaks up behind him. It's Roxanne Hall, his best friend from high school, someone he hasn't seen in 25 years. Also, his most unforgettable ex. Mike was very surprised to see her, but she said she just happened to stop by. They talked a lot and reminisced, and also played billiards together. After chatting for quite a while, Hall invites Mike out for a walk. They went to the park where they often dated in high school. Mike also played a song that Rox really liked. They hugged, but at that time, Mike is unexpectedly knocked unconscious. The next morning, Mike wakes up in London, utterly confused. He's never even left his hometown, and now he's halfway across the world. Downstairs, Hall introduces him to Brennan, the leader of an operation. Hall begins to explain why Mike was brought here. He believes Mike is the perfect candidate for a mission to recover the stolen laptop from the intel agent. The laptop contains sensitive data, information about spies within the FBI, MI6, CIA, and the locations of their safe houses. In 2 weeks, this intel will be auctioned off on the dark web. Mike is asked to retrieve it, not as a hired agent, but as a one-time mission. Mike is then taken to the iconic tower in London, the headquarters of the Union. Immediately, he is thrown into a brutal training session by a massive trainer who doubts Mike's ability to complete the mission. But Hall trusts Mike. His years of experience in construction and his clean record make him the perfect candidate, someone untraceable. Mike, still frustrated, confronts Hall. He demands to know why Hall left him all those years ago without a word. Hall explains that he had to continue his studies, though Mike is still hurt. Before leaving, Hall offers Mike a first-class ticket back home if he chooses not to participate. Mike spends the night reflecting, weighing his options. In the end, he decides to join the mission.
I'm in.
Usually, recruits would undergo 6 months of training, but with time running out, Mike only has 2 weeks to prepare.
Run off the edge and fall to my death. Do I fail?
Huh?
He's given a new identity, Ed Weston from Massachusetts, as his cover. Finally, Mike is deemed ready. The auction is set for tomorrow afternoon, and to participate, Mike needs to purchase a device that will grant him access to the dark web event, where the stolen intel will be sold. So Mike needs to meet someone tomorrow. The next day, Mike arrives at the designated location, but Hall notices from above that several black-clad teams are also shadowing Mike. Suspicious, Mike is caught off guard when someone taps him on the shoulder, an envoy from the seller. The envoy leads Mike to a cafe where the transaction is supposed to take place. Inside, Mike meets a large man counting money at lightning speed. Once the money is verified, Mike is handed the device, which turns out to be nothing more than a simple cell phone. As Mike secures the phone, gunfire erupts. He's being chased. A firefight ensues as Union's team and Hall provide cover for Mike, allowing him to escape. But the assault doesn't let up. 5 different teams are in pursuit. During the chaos, Mike is separated from Hall and forced to face a skilled female assassin on his own. His inexperience shows, and he struggles to fight back. Hall executes an epic rescue, and they manage to escape. However, when they retrieve the phone from the water, it's completely destroyed. Mike is crushed, feeling responsible for the failure, but his teammates cheered Mike up and said it wasn't his fault. Because the device was broken, they couldn't participate in the auction, but Hall got an idea to steal the device from another country's intel. After the incident, Mike was told to quit. However, Mike asked for one more chance. He refuses to let Hall down, especially given their past. Hall, trusting Mike's determination, gives him the go-ahead. Thanks to Athena's hacking skills, they locate the hideout of the other envoys. The team infiltrates a dark, shadowy house in England to defeat the intelligence of other countries and steal their devices. The final target, holding the device, attempts to flee, running straight into Mike. After a brief struggle, Mike successfully overpowers him.
You did good, Mike.
With the device in hand, they're ready to enter the auction, but nothing ever goes smoothly. As they return to the car, Athena is dead. A photograph of the BT towers left behind, signaling that their headquarters has been compromised. Even though they had secured the device, the situation continued to deteriorate. A few hours later, they finally received word. Brennan had survived, along with some of the control room staff. And seeking refuge, they spent the night at one of Hall's apartments while awaiting further instructions. They shared a bed, though Mike had initially offered to sleep on the sofa. Mike teased Hall, saying he used to snore, but Hall laughed, claiming it was actually Mike who had the loudest snores. They talked for a while before drifting off to sleep. The next morning, Mike and the team regrouped. A high-ranking CIA officer named Foster arrived, announcing that the CIA would fund the auction to ensure the intel fell into their hands. They kept bidding higher and higher, and finally won after several bid increases. Hall drove to the middleman of the bad guys who had foiled their mission in the first place. She was a woman named Juliet. Juliet led them to a safe house. The briefcase was hidden inside a secret refrigerator compartment, and Hall successfully retrieved it. Just then, someone knocked at the door. It was Nick, the agent from the initial hotel operation, thought to be dead. Nick revealed that he was married to Hall, though Hall admitted they were on the verge of separating. Nick brought troubling news. He claimed that Rox was in danger and that there was a mole inside the union. He suspected Tom Brennan, the founder of the union itself. Although this was hard to believe, it planted seeds of doubt. They were unsure whether to trust Tom with the intel. Nick advised them to hand the data over to Foster directly, bypassing Tom. They agreed to meet the next day on a bridge to make the exchange. The next morning, they arrived at the designated bridge. But Nick was nowhere to be found. It was a trap. He had betrayed them. The briefcase had been switched when Nick had visited the previous day, and now they were holding fake data. Foster's men arrived, surrounding them. Hall realized they couldn't hand over the fake intel, or they'd be imprisoned, so they decided to flee.
That son of a bitch broke! Pulled over!
Hall jumped onto a passing cargo ship while Mike swam to the shore. They managed to outwit Foster's men. Now they were fugitives, hunted with their identities compromised. They can't get on a plane anytime soon because their data has been monitored. So Mike calls an old friend of his who can put people on cargo planes and wants to smuggle Mike there.
Welcome to Istria.
They landed in Istria, hot on Nick's trail. Nick was spotted cozying up to Juliet, which didn't surprise Hall at all. Soon they saw cars speeding by, convinced it was the buyers coming to meet Nick. Time was running out. They needed to act fast. Nick and Juliet met with a group of Iranian buyers willing to pay top dollar for the stolen intel. But just as the deal was about to go down, Hall intervened, stirring up chaos. In the midst of the chaos, Hall tossed the briefcase aside. Mike managed to grab it, but this triggered a chase as the Iranians pursued him. Meanwhile, Hall confronted Nick. Juliet, sensing that she no longer had any stake in the matter, stopped her guards from shooting. She decided to abandon Nick, seeing it as her best option. Nick found an opportunity to escape while Mike continued to be chased by the Iranians. Despite the relentless pursuit, Mike and Hall worked together, and the Iranian henchman proved to be little more than a nuisance.
You're welcome!
However, just as Mike kept running, Hall was captured by Nick. A speeding car approached them, distracting Nick long enough for Hall to escape. Hall stole a luxury car from a nearby wealthy Istrian, speeding off in pursuit of Nick. The intel ultimately fell into Nick's hands while Mike was trapped in the trunk of a car driven by the Iranian boss. Hall was in hot pursuit from behind, leading to an epic car chase. Rox confidently stated, "This isn't about the cars," fully believing they would catch Nick this time. Meanwhile, Mike managed to break free from the trunk and took down the Iranian men. Now face to face with Nick, Mike's car, severely damaged, spun out of control and veered off the road into a ravine.
Mike!
Thankfully, he survived the crash. Despite the setback, they were still trailing behind as Nick made his way toward the dock. However, the ship hadn't arrived yet, and Nick was forced to wait. Mike crashed his car into Nick even though Nick managed to avoid it, but now his bullets were out and he was cornered. Nick tried to persuade Hall to sell the case and enjoy the money together, but Hall refused. At the last second, Nick tried to fight back and Hall was forced to shoot him. Nick was killed, and with that, they could finally clear their names. The weight of it all lifted from their shoulders. They were relieved it was finally over. At Mike's cousin's wedding, Mike delivered a heartfelt speech, wishing his brother a lifetime of happiness. To his surprise, Hall appeared at the wedding, wearing a sleek black dress. The two reminisced about their high school days, laughing at old memories. Tom Brennan then showed up to officially welcome Mike as a new member of the union. The end.